Today I'm talking about how I take my creative energy and put it in my cold climate tropical garden by rearranging things and moving things around and basically creating a brand new garden. Hi everyone, it's Tim. I am sitting here surrounded by plants because although it's been pretty nice during the day, we've had a couple of really cold temperatures at night, and I end up having to haul all of these plants back inside because I have them out on my deck. And I know that seems kind of silly, but this way at least they're getting used to the sun, they're getting used to being outside, and I'm having many nights where they can stay outside, but I keep hauling all of this stuff inside, which I'll show you how much is in here right now in just a minute. But yeah, the weather's crazy right now in that, we are in spring in New York, which is great. I've got quite a few of the palm trees uncovered now, but some of them I've had to not fully cover with the frames, but go back in and put some frost cloth and some lights around. They probably would be okay, but if I've got the time, I might as well do it. And that brings up a great point. I was in the garden yesterday and I was outside working and I thought, good God, I am crazy. This is just crazy. Crazy what I'm doing. Crazy that I'm growing palm trees and tropical plants in New York, and it's so much work. And for a second there, I was like, wow, I really lost my mind, which I'm sure many of you in watching this are thinking he has lost his mind. So I'm not saying I haven't, but then I started thinking, I really love it, and it's very creative. And someone on the text last week, on last week's video, said something about, I knew you were creative, something to that point. And I think that is a great comment on gardeners, because I do think that our garden is our creativity. Like, I was an actor long ago. I was very creative in that. I can draw, I can paint. I'm going to go into detail on one of my doors that I'm painting right now. I think the garden is kind of my work of art to some degree. And it's not everyone's taste, just like art. Like when you go to a museum and you look at art, there's some things that you love and some things you don't. And my garden is not everyone's taste, but it's mine, and it's my artistic take on what I want to live in the summertime. And I think you as a gardener have to think about that. What is your canvas? What are you looking at when you're creating your garden in your backyard? When friends come over, what does your garden say about you? I think my garden says a lot about me, a whole lot about me. I think if you did not even know me and walk through my garden, you would have a pretty good idea of who I am and what kind of person I am just by some of the plants I have, some of the dramatic things I have in my garden, and a little, even my vegetable garden tells a little bit about me, I think, too. What I'm growing, what I like in life, what I like to eat. I think our gardens are an extension of our personality. That was just going through my head yesterday as I was grappling with the fact that I am crazy. And in the spring, I will say it's a good crazy. I'm crazy, but I embrace it. It's like a nice kind of crazy where I'm like, yeah, I'm crazy, I'm creative. In the fall, when I am struggling to cover all these plants and I'm panicked about the cold coming in, that's when I go, I am crazy and someone needs to commit me. So that's a completely different kind of crazy in the fall. And in the fall, I am stressed. The garden stresses me, and I have to keep reminding myself how much I love spring, and I do love spring, and I do love summer. And right now, nothing takes forever because I can slowly bring things out. I can slowly get plants adjusted. I can slowly mess with everything. In the fall, it all gets truncated down to a little tiny time. And that's what's difficult in fall. And if you're just starting out on tropical gardening and you want to start with a palm tree or two, I think that's a great way to start. Pick one palm tree and really take care of it and decide how hard it is or how easy it is. I think it's rather easy. And I think if you follow a lot of the great palm tree growers on YouTube, like James Palm or Jose in New Jersey, or some of the there's so many good German gardeners out there that have palm trees. You might have to translate what some of them are doing, but I'm just constantly impressed with the Germans and what they're doing. And the UK, they don't have to cover them as much in the UK as we do here in the Northeast, but there's so many great people out there posting stuff, but learn how to do one or two. You might get bitten by the bug and then one or two is not enough, and then you have to have more and more and more and more, like me. But I think that's a great way to start. Or if you're just trying to avoid deer, start with some banana plants, some musabastu, start with some gingers, start with some of the bird of paradise, things that the deer won't eat so you can enjoy them. And then bird of paradise is something I'm going to post right on here while I'm talking right now. It is such an easy plant to take care of. I barely water it at all in the wintertime, and I have some down in my garage that are just stuffed in the back and they're just sitting there waiting to come out. I have one over here in my living room that looks like it's about to bloom, and it's the bigger kind and it's never an attractive bloom. The smaller kind definitely has the more attractive blooms, but there's such an easy plant. The deer will leave it alone. You can enjoy it in the summer in your garden. You can enjoy it in the winter by bringing it in and kind of ignoring it. But there's so many great tropical plants if you're going down that route. So you don't have to be crazy like me, and I say crazy in a good way, to start tropical gardening. You can start small. You can start with just some plants on your deck and enjoy them. There's so many options for tropical gardening, but I want you to find your creativity, and that's the thing. Like, we all need a creative outlet. Especially if you have a really stressful job or you're busy, you need an outlet for creativity where you just get to do something that you enjoy. And I really enjoy gardening. And that was kind of my thought going through yesterday when I was out in the yard, and I just wanted to express that.
But just remember that creativity is not always free. There are challenges to that, and one of the challenges of my garden is I have plants all over my house. And to some of you gardeners, you may think this is great, but to other people, they see this as very cluttered and unmanageable, and I'm blocking the views and things like that. So yeah, in order to make my tropical garden beautiful in the spring, summer, and fall, I have to have a lot of plants inside, and that is part of the cost of creativity. So you have to think about that.
Here's my big bird of paradise. You can't even see the top of it, trying to keep me in the frame. But this was a purchase at a box store, Home Depot. Probably, I would say it might even be 25 years old. It's that old, but it lives in a pot. It's a little pot bound. It comes in and out. I used to put it in the ground, but it's just too big to dig up now. And I want to show you that it's going to bloom on the other side. So right here, you can see the bloom is going to happen. And unfortunately, this variety doesn't have the most attractive blooms. The smaller ones definitely do. And you can see that this is quite tall. My ceilings are tall in here, and it goes up pretty high. And I would love to keep this outside and see. I think if it was in the ground and I could overwinter it, which I'm sure I could figure out, it's just more work for me in the fall, it would get gigantic like they are in California and Florida, which would be pretty amazing. There's so much stuff in here right now, especially with it being a little bit cold tonight, are my bird of paradise back along this back wall in here. here, and I kind of ignore them. And this orange tree, our lemon tree, has a lot of dead leaves on it, but it will come back. It just had a little rough period there. But lots of bird of paradise hidden in the back of the garage here, and I kind of don't water them at all in the winter. Oh, here you can see there's actually flowers coming on the lemon tree, which needs to go outside. Some of my big agaves. I'm gonna put my foot up so I can kind of show you how big they are in here. So if you see my foot there, that's a pretty big agave. And that's my tequila agave right there. Just trying to give you some size comparison in here. Everything is just jammed in here, ready to go outside. And I've tried to utilize every bit of space I can in here. And I still have a car in the garage on the other side. I just don't use this side of the garage. But here's a lot of the gingers in here that I really like. They're a pain to store because they just get big and bulky, but they look really pretty in the garden. And here's a little different situation. I haven't brought these outside, but these are all my Plumaria that were in hibernation. And they're all coming out of hibernation and finally getting leaves. I put them in a closet and they stay dark, and I don't water them all winter long. But now I am watering, and you can see little tiny bits of growth coming on them. Some of them have more leaves than others, but it looks like they all survive. If they're shriveled up at the end of winter, that's usually a sign they're not going to make it. But these all look really good. And then for the first time ever, I have a little flower stalk as it's coming right out of hibernation. And I know Alex, the weatherman on Long Island, has had this happen before, but I haven't. Normally they have to get through the winter and spring. And here's my Buddha's hand is already flowering. That's a really old citrus. Even my bathroom, as you've probably seen on other videos, is full of stuff. And oddly, yes, as several of you pointed out, I have cactus and agaves in probably the most humid part of the house. But all of these things, all of these plants you see go into the garden. And maybe that's the big difference in tropical gardening in a northern climate, is that when you bring everything in, that means I'm not going to put it back in the same place this summer. So every year it's like a new palette. It's like these are all my colors and paintbrushes, and they all get to go in a different space outside in my garden. So nothing's ever really the same out there. I have a cactus area, but I might put something different in a different spot because I decide I want it, or I put this in a different spot. And every year there's a new painting going on. Several of you have asked about the doors I painted down by the pool, so I thought I would go over that a little bit. Here's the first one, and I did this because mainly it's a really ugly door. It came with the house. It's an interior door that's used on an exterior pool shed. Everything's wrong with it, and it looks so bad. I was like, I have to do something with this. And I wanted to do something fun with all my tropicals. So many years ago, I was at a hotel in Los Angeles called the Beverly Hills Hotel. It's really famous. And they have this iconic wallpaper in that hotel. And I thought, well, you know what? I can look that up online. And so I basically had a picture of it, and then I drew freehand, because I can draw. I didn't copy it exactly, but I got definitely the idea of it, the inspiration of it, and I tried my best to copy the same colors in the wallpaper as well. And that's what I ended up with here. I'm going to show it close up just so you can see what it looks like. So it is a very ugly door, and it was in really bad shape, and I've covered up a lot of the flaws on it. But I think it adds some interest there.
to the pool shed. And of course it looks really bad around the pool shed right now because nothing is growing right now, but I'm going to show the other door as well. And you may be wondering why I'm wearing a jacket and a dress shirt. I just got back from brunch with friends, so that is why. But here's the other door. And this one is a little more freehand and it's not done yet. I started this last summer and I just got too busy with it, but I'm trying to incorporate several plants and some bougainvillea in it, and there's still marks where I was drawing with pencil and I haven't painted it in. So I have to work on that this spring as soon as it gets warm enough to paint out here. But yeah, it needs a little work, but I thought I'd show it as well. So definitely unfinished. But yes, I'm trying to get bougainvillea in. It needs some detail work. You can see I'm still drawing there. But I do think it's coming along and it's starting to look nice, and I have to finish the leaves and work on the detail and maybe add a few more plants in here. But I think it'll be pretty by the time the pool opens this spring. So I've got to get to work on this. Back to the canvas here. So yeah, everything, the big palms are all in place, and there's some large perennials like the rhododendron you just saw, and the bananas here that, and if you look over here on the tarp, you can tell that the bananas are starting to grow inside the tarp, which is, if the weather would just get better at night, I would release them. But all those tropicals that are inside are all going to get moved out here into all these spaces. And this is where every year it's completely different because I don't recreate the same thing. And this tree is going this week. I've got it all trimmed down. This is the cherry tree that just blocks everything. And even in my cactus garden, I'm going to make a few changes this year and maybe expand it. But yeah, the palms are here, but I want to play with the tropicals all around them. And I want to play with everything up on this hill coming down to the pool. I'm going to try to keep this area pretty sparse here so that the view from the pool can be seen. But yeah, up in here, there's quite a few perennials and a lot of grasses, but I want to try to add some more color up in here. And this is a great area here that is kind of new for me to deal with because I'm going to put those big agaves down here, and I just have to work out where I'm going to place them and make sure I can cover them. And while trying to show you a really nice view, I noticed that a wild turkey is trying to get into the garden. So even the wildlife here are trying to participate in the creative energy of today's garden, along with the boat on the Hudson River out there, which is looking pretty fabulous. And then even more turkeys in the front yard, but I thought I would show you these since they're close up. But they love to look in the windows, which is where we get the term in the US, a peeping Tom. It refers to a tom turkey. And I think I found where I want to put my Canary Island date palm, right where this clumping bamboo is. So I am chopping it down, and I'm going to dig up the roots and move it onto the hill, and I'm going to put the date palm right here. I think it's a great place. I am exhausted right now. There's so much stuff I have videoed this week that has been happening in this garden, and the video took a different turn over what I wanted it to be, so I'm saving all of that content for next week. So next week's video is going to be really about what is truly going on in this garden and what I'm doing and what I'm moving around and all those kind of things. So you saw just a little bit of that today because I talked more about creativity than anything else. But I just want to thank everybody for watching, and it's so much fun making these videos and showing what I'm doing. And as you all know, I get up very early in the morning and I am watching everybody else's YouTube videos and seeing what they're doing in their garden. Regardless of where they are in the world, I'm watching everybody. And I do have to point out my really cool shirt with the palm tree on it. I think it's cool. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.